Hello and welcome to this week on Drinking with Dave. Now this week we continue to drink the homebrew ale because it is the last homebrew ale. I've really enjoyed this batch and I will be making these again, but really nice bitter kind of smell. Almost getting a little kind of floral. It's been in the bottles for about 3 weeks now, so not so much floral as it is fruity, you know. It's pretty on the nose, pretty bitter enough to the taste. Carbonation is good, but head retention is not. Not on this one anyway. I mean, a lot of them have had very good head retention. This one just not particularly. So to round up this week in brewing, I'll just give you a rundown of what I did with this ale. Last week, during the middle of the week, I took about half of the batch to my sister's house and had drinks with her fiance. So he enjoys ale, and he really liked this one because it was a fresh kind of, it was fresh and bitter and slightly fruity. So it was very enjoyable all round, and Eamon enjoyed it, as did I. And then I went partying on Sunday. Went up to, it was my friend Sinead's birthday. Down in the description I'll throw a link to her Twitter so that you can follow her if you wish. But it was her birthday on Sunday, so we took a whole bunch more homebrew up there. I'm absolutely terrible for pauses. But we went up there to Letterkenny, to her parents' house where her father was having a barbecue, and he is an old school homebrewer from way back in the day, in the 80s, when you had to homebrew to get a lot of very cheap beer. He would brew up a batch and then he would bottle it, and then he would leave it sit as long as it took for him to get thirsty for a beer, which was usually quite quickly, so he never really developed good carbonation on the beer. But he was quite impressed with the carbonation, and everybody was impressed kind of all around with the quality of the homebrew, which I was pleased as punch about that. Leaving it in the bottles the extra week really does make it taste quite a lot better. I mean, it's kind of exponential that every week it tastes better than it did the previous week. So I would suggest leaving the brews 2 to 3 weeks. I would suggest leaving it 2 to 3 weeks to get good, 4 weeks to get great, and everything beyond that is gravy, really. A very tasty beer. On the subject of the bock, we haven't bottled the bock yet. It's been about 14 days in the primary fermenter, and there hasn't been any off smells to it, but the hydrometer readings are coming in very high, so I'm unable to bottle as of now. So I'm going to leave it. I mean, we are brewing at a lower temperature, so I imagine that's probably the cause of the longer fermentation time. I got enough Pepsi bottles to bottle the bock, so whenever the specific gravity drops down to 1.012, then we will bottle. It's currently at 1.015 or so. It has been for 2 days, roughly. I don't want to rush into the bottling because I'm bottling in Pepsi bottles and they're not really pressure rated for beer. Neither am I, apparently. Oh well. So I'll be bottling the bock in Pepsi bottles and then just conditioning them for 2 weeks and above. So I'm looking forward to that. It's just a matter of when the bock will be ready, because we're fermenting at lower temperatures, so a longer fermentation time is kind of to be expected, I guess. I don't really know. I mean, every batch is an experiment, so the cooler temperature fermenting of the bock is the first we've done. Usually I ferment it right up at like 26 or 27 just to get it done as fast as possible, you know. The next stage of what we move on to after the bock, as I've been saying for weeks now, is we move on to the wheat beer, but the bock is kind of holding everything up at the moment because it's in the primary fermenter and we don't have a secondary. If we had a secondary, I could easily just siphon it off and then start the wheat, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. We're not going to be getting a secondary fermenter anytime soon, and I don't really mind because the primary and the bottling seems to be working out pretty well now, so I think I'll stick to that for the near future. Once we do get the wheat beer on, which hopefully will be within the next 7 days, depending on when the bock is ready, which will be within the next 7 days hopefully, then we will be ordering a lager and possibly another another dark ale kit like this, because my sister would like I'm getting my sister a batch of lager for her birthday, and her fiance Jason really liked the ale we made, so he was considering having me make some for him. Anytime I get to do the same brew a second time around, I'm going to learn something, or I can maybe try something different. Maybe I will do an all malt brew this time. That about wraps it up for this week. The dark ale went down a storm. Everybody seemed to enjoy it, so I'll be making that one again. The Bock, having some problems with it, not problems, just a new experience. And we'll be hopefully bottling that soon, within the next 3 or 4 days. And then we move on to the wheat beer, the lager, and a dark ale. After that, I'm going to be holding a little poll with my YouTube viewers as to what I should brew after that. I have a couple of things in mind, but nothing definite yet. So happy brewing to everybody out there, and really we're making this stuff because we love beer. So to all the beer lovers.